Live. We is live. So whenever you're ready, you let me know, and I will run the intro.
Waiting for me to be able to see it. There we go. All right, now I can see it.
And then let's do it. Whenever you's ready. Time's ticking. Just go ahead and take your time, man. We're all waiting on you. It's no big deal. It's your world, bro.
I thought so. All right, so 40 seconds. All right, so less than a minute. So we'll just have to cut off that first minute.
Yeah,
or whatever.
All right. Well, the more we talk about it, the longer it's going to be.
Yeah, that's right. So go ahead, let's do the show, man. Let's do the damn thing.
Shut up and sit down.
Boom. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? This is a street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you. This is Dope and Dharma doing the Couch Live edition, the Monday night edition here at WOKB 1680 AM. And what other station is it on, Trinity?
100.7 or 100.7 FM and then 1680 AM.
That's right. That's right. And of course, like I said, I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado. That's my partner, the Dharma guy, Trinity Phillips. What's up, brother?
Hey, what is up?
Of course, Shaw, producer. He's doing the producing. So if you want to blame the quality of anything, just send all your hate mail to Shaw, the producer, and right. He'll gladly accept your emails. Anyway, yes. So doing it a little early, but right here at WOKB, it's what, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right?
Yes.
On February 20th.
Correct.
So we just had the Daytona 500. If you're into that, if you're not, then you're like, what is that?
Yeah,
you have no idea what that's about. But
who won?
Here in Florida, it's a pretty big deal. Yeah, well, you don't even know the race car drivers. Why are you even asking who won? I'm not even gonna tell you. But it was a good time. We was out there, had a good time. Of course, I got a little sun. You can tell. A little sun for those that can see this, because there's ways to do this other than being on 1680 AM here. In Orlando. It's also a podcast and stuff. Tell people about that stuff, Dharma guy, just in case they want to listen to this or watch this differently or participate differently.
Sure. If you guys want to listen and watch as well and participate, you can catch us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch live under Dope and Dharma. If you want to listen to it at your leisure, if you don't want to see our ugly mugs, then you can do that on any of your major podcasting platforms. Also under Dope and Dharma. And then social media, you can follow us both at The Dope Doctor and at The Dharma Guy.
That's right. And for those of you that are used to watching this show, look, Dharma Guy's got a whole different digs over there. I mean, you don't have your little lights going around the top edge. You got this whole blackout thing behind you. Yeah, I see that. I see you in a different location today.
Actually, we had a Zoom meeting, and you were like, "Hey, I like that background." So I was like,
"I do.
I'll try it on today."
I did. Yeah. I preferred it. I think it looks really good. So thank you for doing it for the show. I like it.
Sure. I aim to please.
All right, so Trinity, we've been talking here on the Couch Live edition of Dope and Dharma. We've been doing this for we're in our 24th year doing the Couch Live. We talk about addiction and recovery and all things in between, but also just mental health issues and things that kind of lead up to you to having a substance use disorder, right?
Sure.
Thanks to people like Orange County, who have been our sponsors from day one. So that's why we're here at WOKB, because Orange County wants this kind of conversation to be had at all times. They don't want to do it just when it's fashionable. They don't want to do it just when everybody's dying of fentanyl or whatever else they're dying from, but they want us to have this conversation all the time. So I thought today we'd talk about immediate gratification.
It's the best kind, isn't it?
You just sat there silent. I said it, and you're just sitting there staring at me like,
oh, you lagged on my screen a little bit. So that's the best kind, isn't it? I mean,
look, I hope I'm not lagging, because if I'm lagging, the show goes downhill real quick.
Yeah, I don't know, a little bit, but that's okay. We'll make it happen.
Yeah, all right. So just so y'all know, I'm out here in New Smyrna Beach. I do the actual radio show from New Smyrna Beach. Trinity's in Orlando, and so out here in New Smyrna Beach, as nice as this place is, as beautiful as it is, beautiful beach, beautiful sun, beautiful house, beautiful everything. But what they don't have beautiful of is damn internet connection. This darn This darn internet and Wi-Fi connection is no bueno.
You
No
got to
me
give a
gusta
little to
por
take a
nada.
little.
That's right. It makes me want to curse in Spanish, but I think the FCC says, Louis, you can't even curse in Spanish because some people actually understand what you're saying. So
Yeah.
we will not only get fined if we do it in English, but apparently even if I do it in Spanish. So no puedo decir nada. All right,
Will we get fined or will they get fined? Like, is it our money or is it their money?
Brother, that's a great question. But I'm sure somewhere on that contract it says if you get fined, it's your it's your butt. I'm sure.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure there's
Let's not
somewhere in
do
that
it.
contract. Yeah. Either way, I don't want anyone with their hand out. Trinity, I got enough people with their hands out. I don't want no hands out.
Yeah.
You know, when anyone puts their hands out, I do that old 1970 saying, "What's up? How you doing?" I slap,
Right.
give them 5.
Right? Slap me some
So,
skin, brother.
That's right. So immediate gratification, Trinity. Immediate gratification. The reason I want to talk about it is because this is how we start getting in trouble. This is where it all begins. You know, we want something right now. We want it when we want it. And you know, some of us have gotten into trouble because of that. Because eventually, it's either not enough, not satisfying enough, not doing the original intent, you know, like whatever intent you originally had of why you did it, it doesn't really give you what you want anymore or the level of what you want anymore. You start adding to the cocktail. Very, very few do you take away from the cocktails. You usually add to the cocktail. Have you noticed that?
Sure.
You don't really take away. So I want to talk about certain aspects of immediate gratification as far as like different types. And I want you to just give me your honest opinion. For those of you that don't know, I'm a certified addictions professional, private practice for the last 30 years. And Trinity is a fitness expert. And so he comes from one aspect of it. He's also a spiritual guru. And that's why we do Dharma time on Tuesdays.
Oh, gosh.
I call you a guru now, by the way. I upgraded you
Such a
from
dirty word.
advisor. Well, I upgraded you from advisor to guru. Is that okay?
Yeah, whatever.
Well, advisor made you sound like Dionne Warwick, and guru.
What about Miss
makes you
Cleo?
sound-
Calling me now.
There you go. Well, different age gap. See, that's our age gap right there. So to you,
Well, I
it's
remember
Cleo, to me,
Diana.
it's
I remember
Dionne Warwick.
Diana, but Cleo's more.
See, you even call her
what's
Diana. It's Dion.
Dion.
See,
Yeah,
that's
right.
my proof. Exactly. That's the difference.
She wasn't on my radar.
Exactly. Anyway,
Although there's a documentary I'm going to watch about her on HBO, though.
right. And I think she was on Masked Singer or something like that. One of these past years.
Yeah, I don't
Yep.
watch that.
So anyway, so back to immediate gratification. So one type. Let's talk about the first type that I wanted to talk about today was the sleep part. Tons of people say I need help sleeping. I got a sleeping problem. I really can't get to sleep, and therefore seek out some sort of help or aid to get rest. Why, Trinity? Because rest is that damn important. I mean,
Yes,
right?
it
I mean,
is.
if you don't have proper rest, you're just a miserable person.
Well, it
You're-
leads to a ton of things.
Right. So let's
Yeah.
talk about some of that.
Sure. Well, the
Go
stuff
ahead.
that it leads to would be for men, it lowers our testosterone. It can kill you, actually, if you do it long enough.
Right.
But on your journey to doing it long enough, eventually your body will just shut down. And if you're driving or something like that, you have accidents, operating heavy machinery. But prior to getting to all that, you're just kind of miserable to be around. Sometimes you start to get cranky. You know, there's a plethora of things that suck if you don't have enough sleep.
Right. You don't make your best decisions tired.
No,
That's for sure.
no. There was actually a study done that shows the equivalency of driving drunk versus driving sleepy, and they were almost identical.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. I think I saw that at one time, and I think that's why they call it impaired driving rather than drunk driving,
Yeah.
because you could also be impaired with not sleeping, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about that because I bet when I said immediate gratification, everybody just thought about joyful stuff, like I just want to enjoy. But I also wanted to touch on things immediate gratification for getting away from a certain feeling or a certain discomfort, which in this case was the inability to sleep. Now, if you go back generations, and those those that are a little bit older in the audience, they understand that. The amount of sleep aids available to us back in the day was close to nil, or all of it was drug. It was either alcohol, pot, pill, something like that. Now, there's so many more over the counter options, right? But still, it's very popular for people now to say, that's when I do my vape, my THC vape,
Oh,
for
really?
instance, or that's when I have a drink, a nightcap, or that's when I take a certain pill, whatever that may be, whatever your flavor of pill may be, is one way to say it. And my issue with this, Trinity, is not necessarily that you need restful sleep, because I don't want to combat anybody and kind of knock them if they're actually struggling with sleeping. But my issue is that we're too quick to get an aid rather than look at our life choices that we're making prior to sleep. Like, what are you doing prior to those few hours before sleeping, or what? You're laughing.
Because you've stumbled across a let's call it discussion that we've had
Okay.
in this house many a times.
Oh, okay. Well, can you share with us? I mean, she doesn't
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
the show or
no,
listen to
of
the show.
course.
She'll share with us.
Well, it's not even just with her. It was also with my teenagers.
Well,
Um,
good then. We know darn well they're not listening, so go for it.
yeah. Well, I am. I'm a weirdo. I'm that guy that.
You're a weirdo.
Yeah, I go to bed. I try to have the routine where I have a similar
Okay.
time I go to bed.
Okay.
I don't do anything stimulating prior to going to sleep. I'm not on my phone. I'm not doing all these things.
Mm,
Um, I don't have a TV in my bedroom. Haven't had one for years. Like I'm that
Whoa.
guy. Yeah, I'm that dude that like does the stuff that you're
Whoa.
supposed to do to get a good night's sleep. My children, on the other hand, want to play on their games or on their phones in bed. They
Yeah.
spend a lot of time in bed, even if they're not, sleeping. My wife as well. My wife has been known to take a 5-hour energy shot, literally like an hour before she goes to bed. She'll lay in the bed for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes more, on her phone looking at stuff.
Mm.
Then complaining the next day that she couldn't get sleep, and I'm always that guy. It's like, well, if you didn't do these things, you're
Right.
like, it sounds stupid, but I think
Right.
there is actual data to back it up. My body has been trained. I don't lay down unless I'm going to sleep. And
Right.
so when I lay down, I don't care how wide awake I am. When I come into my room and I lay down, it's like my body's like, oh, it's that time. So like it goes to sleep because I don't lay down. Like I don't lay down on the couch. I sit down. I might lean a little bit, but I don't lay down. Whereas my
Right.
wife is constantly laying down. Like she'll lay down on the couch, she'll lay down in the bed. Same thing with the kids. And so it's like, your body gets confused. It sounds weird, but it's true.
And I know we're not fully on internet right now. We're also on the air, and not only on the air, but we're on a gospel station as well. But so I don't
Keep
want
it
to get
clean.
too deep
Keep it
into it.
clean.
Well, I just want to say you relations as well. You don't just lean or stand
Well,
up. I mean,
I
but
think
what
that
you're
was
saying is,
understood.
well, I'm just making sure, because you know darn well someone's going, well, wait a minute, Trinity. I mean, that's why you have such strong arms.
I just mean for
You know?
leisure. I mean for leisure. Like I
Right. You don't
don't,
you don't just
I'm
lay
not
down
just
just to
laying there.
hang out.
No,
Right.
no.
All right. As opposed to me, where I'm like, I'm horizontal most of my day, is if I can do it. Right.
Sure.
I'm either sitting or laying down if I can do
That's
it.
my wife and kids as well. They do the
Right.
same thing.
Right.
And
Okay.
then
So
they're
let's talk about
surprised
that,
when they go
because
to bed. They can't sleep.
you're 100% right. You're 100% right on that. So
I know.
big yeah, I know. Well, because usually you probably don't get heard, Trinity, because it's your wife and kids, and no matter
They
what
don't
you
listen.
say, they're going to
No,
argue.
they argue.
But our listeners might actually listen to you. Can you kind of like give us the little 2-minute understanding of why that is?
Why? Well, I mean,
Why you do what you do, and why it's better for you to do the way you do.
I mean, it's been so the data. So that's the thing is, it's not my way. It's the data. Like I look at the people who
Right.
do this
Right.
for a living, do research and whatnot, and I just interpret that data and I try to follow it. So it's not my way. But yeah, it's been proven that the more active your brain, the more stimulated your brain is, it takes
Mhm.
time to kind of come down off of that. And
Right.
same thing with physicality. So for instance, for some people, you can't really go to the gym before you go to bed because then you're hyped up, your blood pressure's up, things of that nature. Physiologically speaking, you're not ready for bed. Neurologically speaking, yes. If what we don't realize is maybe that show or whatever game you're playing is boring to you, but for your
Mm.
brain, it's firing like crazy
Mm.
to figure out what's going to happen next and did that just happen, and interpreting everything. So it's like it's working a lot. And so to try to go to bed at the same time or very shortly afterwards, your brain is still like kind of coming down from all the
Right.
stuff that you just did to it. So it's difficult, to whereas if you're maybe for some people you could read a book or something that's not quite as stimulating as
Mhm.
electronics is, your brain's kind of already like into a chill kind of mode, and so it's easy to slow it down and go to sleep than it is to bring it down from a 10.
Yeah, I like this. And by the way, for those of you that want to go like, wait a minute, you said you were going to talk about immediate gratification. Now you're talking about self medicating. I'm going to say I know. It's because to me, I'm using them the same. Self medicating behavior is the
Right.
same thing as immediate gratification in a lot of ways, and that's why we're talking about it like this. But we've done shows on self medicating, and some of you ignored it because it was said medicating in it. But when I say immediate gratification, all of a sudden you clicked and you wanted to know what it was about, and that's why we call it immediate gratification. So let's get back to the sleeping thing, like you said, Trinity. Now here's the issue. Um, if you're out there and you're trying to get rest and you're one of these individuals that use a sleep aid, what Trinity just said right now is on point. I mean, and you're not choosing to try it, then you gotta look at yourself and you gotta say, all right, well, so what's happening if I continue to use an aid? First of all, you're gonna develop a tolerance. With all these things, by the way, everything we talk about today, you're gonna eventually develop a tolerance on whatever you do. I don't care what it is. The potential, let's say this, the potential of developing a tolerance is there. The risk of developing a tolerance is there. And if you develop a tolerance, that means that the amount of what you do is no longer at some point in time going to give you the same level of satisfaction or relief. Therefore, you're going to need to increase what you do. So that could be more
Yep.
hours of play. That could be more hours of television, more hours of music, more hours of whatever it is you're doing, or something more intense. You're going to think it's more intense. But all the while, you're going to increase the amount of pills you take, increase the drinks you take, increase the level of THC you consume, whatever it is you're taking to get rest, all because you don't want to try the natural methods that Trinity just said. Now, I was one of those. I didn't like your natural methods that you're talking about,
Most
Trinity.
people don't.
And of course, because I'm a very normal person sometimes. And in this, I'm very normal. However, I'm also a person that doesn't like complaining about something when I know that it's in my control to do something about it, you know? And so I started bookending my day way early on in my life trying to figure that out because I could not get restful sleep. I could not go to sleep. I was that guy that for hours I'd be laying down there and then finally get to sleep. And I thought that's the way it was always going to be. I'm going to lay down here and I'm eventually going to go to sleep, but it's going to be hours later. Still always still always had the TV on, blah, 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 all that stuff. Still always did all that. Here's the interesting thing, though. A lot of it had to do with my mental perspective of the closure of the day rather than all that other stimulation stuff. Now, all because I was too stubborn to quit all that other stuff, by the way. I had to literally change the mental perspective part, which I'm glad I did. And I'm also glad I discontinued way early on in my life, around 19, discontinued using any substance in order to go to sleep. Because I used to always think, I had to smoke to go to sleep. But once I quit smoking, it would have been easy to to go into something else. However, I hated the idea that I had to pay somebody money in order for me to sleep. That I would have to, that now you got me hostage. Like pay me a fee and then I'll give you what you want. That's how I felt because
All right,
because
Sam.
early in my life I was a dope man, so I always looked at something like dope from a dope man's eyes. You know what I mean? So I felt like I'm having to pay someone a fee in order to get something I want, and that bothers me to the nth degree. So I did not want to do that.
There's another aspect too for the immediate gratification, the way it
Okay.
ties into sleep, even um, because it's hard, man. Like if you are trying to transition from
Mhm.
using sleep aids or doing all these other things to just
Mhm.
getting natural sleep, it's
Mhm.
hard.
Yes.
It's day one is not going to happen. You
For
can't
sure.
go from taking sleep aids and all these other things, reading your book or playing on your phone in bed and all this other stuff to on Monday, and then on Tuesday, lights out, 10 o'clock, I'm in bed. you're going to lay there awake for a while because your brain's going to be going through a million different things at that point. It's going to take consistency, right? Like it's one of those things where like I used to not take naps. I still don't really. I know you're a napper, right? My wife is a napper.
Yes, sir. I've
I
turned
know
into
many
one.
of them.
Right.
However, the reason why I don't nap is like it's hard for me to sleep during the daytime when I like that's not my normal routine. But also, I know I won't sleep at night because I got
Mm,
too much sleep in the daytime. I won't be tired at
mm,
night. So I'm planning ahead, right? Meaning
mhm.
it's all connected. So if you force you go to like day one, right? You're laying in bed and you've been there for 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and you're like, this
Mhm,
isn't working.
mhm.
Fight the urge to be like, I'm gonna go. Like I can't. I need sleep tomorrow. I'm gonna go take something.
Right, right,
Fight
right.
the urge because what happens is it might take you a while to fall asleep, and then when you wake up
Right,
tomorrow, you're gonna be tired, right? However,
right,
if you don't address that tiredness tomorrow, then tomorrow night when it is time to go to bed, you're gonna go out quick.
right.
But the problem is we don't have that patience anymore. We want that immediate, like I need to sleep now. So then we'll
Right.
take something. Well, then now your body's used to it. Now that's no
Mhm.
longer an addition. That's the way.
Right.
And so if you go away from that, then it's all related, right? And so yeah, you might have to struggle day one or two. It might take a little bit of time, but if you don't artificially correct the sleep deficit, if you it will kind of work itself out. You know,
Mhm.
if Monday night you're trying to do it and it doesn't work, but you don't take anything and you wake up Tuesday and you're kind of tired throughout the day, but you don't do anything to address that. You just kind of, let it be kind of sucky all day. Come
Right.
Tuesday night, you're going to be so sleepy from Monday night, you'll kick yourself into that routine. And if you just stay consistent with it by Friday or Saturday, man, that's your routine. That's just what you do now. Your body will start to get
No,
tired at a certain point. It takes some
you
time.
know,
That's all.
you're exactly right. You gotta be patient with it, and that's the part like a lot of us don't have, Trini. I mean
They want that
I
immediate
mean, we want
gratification.
immediate gratification. I want it now. I want, because if I wanted to go to sleep right now, I know what to take if I wanted to go to sleep now, and I think that's what makes it tough for people knowing, wait a
Yeah.
minute, but I can control this now. But the only reason you have to control it now is because you're unable to control it later. You're unable to delay it, which is the real control. You're actually out of control. When you think you're controlling it by taking something to sleep now, when you think you're applying your control, you're actually giving in and you're losing all the natural abilities to do this on your own. So your brain is full of chemicals. Your brain is full of all the right chemicals that you need to live. The next one being one of them, which is to control your level of anxiety. Your brain is filled with GABA. However, if you go, oh, I struggle with anxiety, so I need to take something. Some of you do. Some of you actually have something that could be diagnosed. However, so many of you have self-diagnosed, and you've already been taking your own method of anti-anxiety medication for a long time, and therefore it's a self-created anxiety. You want, number one, you want to have anxiety. I know you're not going to like what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, you want to have anxiety, and you want your anxiety to be so severe that it's a disorder or a disability that you require medication. Because if you didn't want one, you would have tried all the natural ways first. In just like Trinity said, when I mean try, I mean like you got to do it for a while, not just try it. You got to do it. You got to do it for an extended period of time, just like we did school. You know how I knew I wasn't a school person? Because I did it for 12 years, right? And it, you know, and then I really knew I wasn't a school person when I went on to college and did it for another 4 years. I definitely knew this is not something I wanted to do. For those of
Well,
you that quit quick, you don't know if you're not a school person because you never got old enough to even see if you were. And those are some of the things that I'm talking about. It's just is hanging around long enough to
yeah.
test it.
Well, they call it a circadian rhythm, right? Like it's not a circadian,
Oh, Jesus. What
excitement.
kind of language you speaking now?
Well, circadian rhythm, that's the rhythm that you get into when we're not nocturnal. We're asleep at night
Right,
and awake during the day, and like
right.
you get tired at certain times. It's called a circadian rhythm, the emphasis to me there is
English is
rhythm.
my second languge, Trinity. I don't
Yeah,
need you to come give me all your medical terminology
um,
and try to make me feel stupid.
to me though, the key word there is rhythm, right?
Okay,
The rhythm
rhythm.
is
I
the
like rhythm.
consistency, right?
That word I know.
So this idea that you're gonna stop years of
Right.
poor sleeping habits overnight,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. You need to get into a rhythm. It's going to take some
Right.
time. But if you do it 3, 4, 5 days, that's the cool
Right.
part too, is our body really needs sleep.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not like
You're
it's
gonna
going
do
to
it.
take Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to take 6 months.
Right.
The first couple nights might be difficult, but I promise you, if you stick to it, by like night 3
Yeah.
or 4, you're going to notice a
Yeah.
massive difference.
Yeah, especially if you stop ingesting sugar products or caffeine related products, including chocolate and stuff like that, snacking, and then expecting to go to sleep.
I'm also that guy too, by the way. I have my daily dose of caffeine in the form of Celsius. However, there's a running joke in my house because I call it Celsius o'clock. I don't drink my caffeine past a certain time. If it's like past like 6 or sometimes borderline 7, I won't drink it.
You are what we call structure. you got a
Well,
lot of
just because I
structure.
know how much it sucks to not get sleep, dude.
No,
Like
but
I've been
yeah,
there,
no.
done that.
You're saying everything the right way. But now I want to talk about that anxiety because we tapped into anxiety a little
Sure,
bit.
let's do it.
There's a lot of people think they have anxiety. I mean, and it
Like
almost seems
everybody
like,
thinks that today.
it almost seems like everyone thinks they have anxiety issues. Now, coincidentally, most people that they tell me that they have anxiety issues either drink quite a bit or smoke pot or take an anti-anxiety medication. I have never ran into a person who has done yoga for 5 to 10 years that has told me they suffer from anxiety. Why is that?
Well, I mean, because you're doing
It's always a
things to
cigarette
de-stress yourself.
smoker, pot smoker, drinker, somebody that's doing something that thinks that is helping their anxiety when it's actually creating additional levels of anxiety and making it nearly impossible for their brain to produce the GABA necessary to actually deal with anxiety, because everybody needs a little bit of anxiety. That's how you get up and get moving and do stuff. Some of you already look like you half sleep, and then you still say, I got anxiety. It's like, dude, you clearly don't know what anxiety looks like and acts like, because you, my friend, are not suffering. You would never get diagnosed with anxiety the way you're just sitting there going, yeah, man, I need this. I have anxiety.
Yeah, well, it's no wonder, right? Like it's like you're playing red light, green light with your brain, right? Like taking in these substances. You take something to speed things up, and then you got to take something to slow things down.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's like your brain is like red light, green light, red light, green light. Like you just go, stop. Once again, there's no rhythm to it, right? Like it's just
right.
So yeah, when you're treating your brain that way, like what do you think is going to happen? Like, no, it's not shocking to me at all.
Right. Right.
And you're talking to somebody who like that is, I've never understood, mind you, out of all the years that I've been talking to people and around and having anything remotely close to a philosophical discussion, the one organ that I care more about than anything else is my brain. Like I've seen what happens when people get older and they kind of lose some of it. Like that, it is a terrible thing to see. It is horrible to think that you'd want to live that way, right? Like, or I've seen videos where like they don't even recognize their spouses or their kids and things of that nature. So, if there is an organ on my body, right? Like I've done crazy stuff, dude. I've done motorcycle stunts and racing. Like if I broke an arm or whatever, like it's a calculated risk I'm okay with. But the one that I won't take risks with is my brain, man. Like it's like the most important thing to me, and I don't understand why it's not more important to other people. Like, it's crazy how important your brain is. Like your brain, in theory, for some people, is you, right? Like it's not your body. Even if you're in a coma, you're still there. It's in here.
Right.
So it's like for something that's so important and it's so somewhat fragile, right? Like as we talked about drugs and whatnot, you can change the way your brain works. Like you can modify that through things. That scares the hell out of me, man. Like, so for my brain, like that is the one thing that I care more about anything else.
Yeah, and it's weird how I used to practice Alzheimer's and practice dementia, and I would actually spend a great deal of my day practicing dementia and Alzheimer's. I mean, the more dementia, Alzheimer's, or schizophrenia I had, I actually felt like that was better stuff that I was taking. So you're absolutely right. And when it comes to anxiety, when you're creating chaos in your life as well, because some of these things do create chaos. Some of you, your drinking has created some of this chaos. Some of you, your pot smoking has created some of this chaos. Some of you, your drug behavior, your drug use behavior, or your inability to maintain a relationship in a healthy way or an employment in a healthy way has created some of this chaos. And so that chaos creates a level of pain or frustration in you And then
Preach.
therefore you're saying I have anxiety. It's like, but look at your life choices that are creating it more difficult to have rest or to have a sense of peace, a mental peace.
And some
Of
people crave
course.
it.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Like, they don't realize if you had a chaotic life as a child, you don't even
Right.
realize that you're seeking that out and making decisions
Yeah.
to create that chaotic lifestyle as an adult. Like,
Right.
you think this is just no, man, no. Like, you grew up with that, and so you're trying to recreate it now.
Yeah. And then we call healthy people like when you call, I've heard you say it before. It says, man, the fact that I've never tried marijuana and stuff like that. You say, people look at it, how boring, right?
Yeah.
Like you're the square for never trying that, even though you did all this other stuff. And that you're the
Yeah.
you're the nerd because you didn't try that. But it's like, are you serious? If you're one of these people, look at what you're doing to your brain right there. What you just told your brain. In order for me to be cool. Now we don't say that because now when I say it like this, you're gonna be like, I don't smoke to be cool. But if you ever did this, I'm gonna tell you how I tested this for myself. When you would come into my place, man, I had an apartment, right, and people would bring over strangers into my circle, and everybody has an inner circle. When you do drugs and stuff, you have an inner circle, right? And then somebody brings somebody that you didn't say it's okay to bring. The one sentence you ask your friend, your boy, is like, is he cool? So why was I asking if the person was cool if I didn't think what I was doing was cool? Because I would fight to the death to say I'm not doing it to be cool. And even to this day, I would say I'd fight to the death saying I was not doing it to be cool. But it does not mean that some level in my brain somewhere identified that as a cool behavior and to not do it in uncool behavior, because I would only hang out with those that were doing the behavior that I was doing. So therefore, we all had anxiety issues because we all required something to relax and to chill out. And if we were feeling anxious or irritated, we would have to take it out on someone else in order to be cool, right? In order to relax, in order to feel good, we had to push off that energy onto someone else or medicate it, because we all know how to speed up when we want to speed up. We know what to take to slow down. We know what to take to go to sleep. We know what to take for any kind of, uncomfortable feeling or emotion we're dealing with. And anxiety is one of those things that we see way too many people get a medication for. And let me tell you something. When you start taking an anti-anxiety medication, I'm talking like the benzodiazepines, the Xanax, the Valium, the Klonopins. When you start taking those, you are not going to discontinue taking those. If you start smoking pot because you have anxiety, you are not going to ever discontinue taking those, because you are not developing the natural way. So your brain will naturally learn how to deal with anxiety the proper way, the healthy way. But you have now handicapped yourself. You have now handcuffed your ability to be forced into learning how to deal with it. And therefore you cheated him. By cheating, now you can't help yourself. Now you don't know how to play the game. Now you've created yourself a disability. And therefore, whenever you're coming down, anxiety will increase. So the only way for you not to be anxious is for you to smoke your pot, drink your alcohol, take your pills, or whatever else you're taking, because anytime you're coming down off that substance, your level of anxiety is going to be unbearable, and you will not be able to exhibit the patience and calm to be able to process through it as naturally as you are built to do. And trust me, you are an amazing machine that is built to deal with any emotion you are feeling, unless you have a true disability. And again, I want to preface that again. There are some people with legitimate disability, but I want you to look around yourself. Look around you, and you tell me you think that 80% of this population has a legitimate disability with this? No. But yet everybody will say that they do. Stop self-diagnosing yourself. If you haven't seen a professional like me, you haven't been diagnosed, and you don't know what you're talking about.
Sure. And you haven't even really mentioned the number one anti-anxiety medicine in the world.
What is
diet
that?
and exercise. Ooh, those are dirty words, boy. Dirty words. But what's funny is when I was in the midst of the fitness world, I always found it interesting. I would have copious amounts of clients over the years come to me with various ailments, and some I was well versed in, others I wasn't. And the ones that I wasn't well versed in, before I would take them on as a client, I would look into it and just to see if there's any problems or issues. And the one thing I noticed that no matter what the physical ailment is, for the most part, as well as mental issues as well, there was one thing that was recommended for every single one of them. Diet and exercise.
Mm.
Like, it wasn't contrary to pretty much anything. And yet that's like the one thing that none of us really want to make the time for.
Right. And water.
Yeah. That's another
Water,
one.
oxygen,
It's
diet,
boring.
exercise. Water, right? Water,
I got water
diet,
right here.
exercise, and oxygen. Those things are amazing. And basic stretching. Forget even just exercise, just basic body stretching. Your body requires these things. And you know what? Look, I don't know why we gave up one of the most healthiest things to do, which is yoga. It's probably one of the most healthiest things to do, but we gave it all to a specific genre of people and let them have it. And that's why the rest of us won't do it, because we gave it to them. And because those people do yoga and the way they look and act and talk, I don't want anything to do with it. However, that is probably the most easiest and effective basic methods of movement and exercise.
Yeah, it's been around for thousands of years,
dude. And the breathing is part of it. Say, when you see, I remember this dude when he first showed me yoga, dude. I swear to God, I thought he was a kook, man. He's a chiropractor, acupuncturist, and all that stuff. And I liked him. He was a friend. But then he started doing this fire. He called dragon breathing or fire breathing. I don't know what the hell he was doing. He was doing this breathing. I thought he was about to have a baby, bro. I mean, I was like,
the moms.
Yeah, he just started doing that real hard, and I was afraid to be in front of him because I'm like, dude, something's about to fly out your nose and slap me in the face with, because the way you're breathing so hard. But in looking back in it, in retrospect, I wish I would have started it then, because basic. But when I get up at my 53-year-old self and I realize, oh my God, everything aches, everything hurts, everything. It's like that's going to happen. That the body gets old, the body's harder to feel good, right? All that basic core strength and stretching ability and flexibility would alleviate tons of this.
But it's not immediate.
It's not. But if you do it since you're young, like if we would be teaching our kids this kind of stuff, that stuff, then hopefully they can grow up knowing that maybe when they're 53 and they have to tie their shoe, they don't have to hold their breath and like come up like they just after tying their shoe. Because let me tell you something, tying your shoe could be laborious. That's why I like slip-on shoes, man, because just bending over, tying the shoe, that means I gotta compact my belly. You know what I mean? Like I was like, I compact my whole diaphragm to do it. I'm holding my breath. When I come back up, it's like, oh my God, that's a chore. It's little things, man, that depression is something that people don't like. They want to take something for it instead of realizing, no, we all get sad. It doesn't have to creep into the level of depression, anxiety. No, we all get stressed. It doesn't have to creep into the level of anxiety, sleep. We all can struggle and have some difficulties getting rest. It doesn't have to creep into an actual sleep disorder. But understand, people, we're in a time now where we're trying to be mentally health aware, but what we're doing is just telling everybody it's okay to not be okay, right? We're saying this a lot, which is fine for those people that are truly not okay. But what's not okay is to think everything about you is not okay. That's not okay. It's not okay to think you are I'm ill and I have a problem and no, you're very normal. These are all normal things. To have a level of discomfort is very normal. If you want help with some of that, tune into our Tuesday show, Dharma Time, where we actually dig a little bit deeper on the psychological and spiritual processes of feeling better through some difficult times and difficult thoughts and life experiences. Because this immediate gratification, I got to have it now, may not be resolving your problem. If you, especially if you're my age, 53 years old and you're still needing everything right now, just
figure it out.
Soak that in. Just soak that in for a second, because I think the beautiful thing about being 53, brother, I am like super patient. I'm impressed with my patience, because I was so impatient. I am ADHD by diagnosis. I have had every physician I ever had, including the one I have now, that says, please let me prescribe you a medication for your ADHD. And I'm like, hell no. I did my own ADHD medication back in the 80s. It was called cocaine, and it did not go well. So I don't want to do your government authorized medication for ADHD. I will continue to work on my natural methods that actually help, because I can now sleep. I now can manage my anxiety. I can sit for longer periods of time now. I've learned little tricks to how to be able to sit for long periods of time and not be bothered by it. I can listen instead of talk when I have to, and be silent. The brain doesn't race as much. There's not as much racing thoughts. And I'm not saying all this to say, oh, I'm better. I'm not better than anything. I've just practiced this stuff because what bothered me was very similar to what bothered you, Trinity. You don't like not being in control. And what I did not realize is how much control I was giving to all the substances and all the worldly matters. I didn't realize that while I was running away from the control of government and God, I was actually giving up control to substance and worldly crap. And by taking that control back, I can respect all of it equally and respect what God is to people. I can respect what government is. I can respect what authority is. I can respect what desire is. I can respect what compulsion is. I can respect it all in an equal way and make my decision whether I want to engage in it or not.
Yeah, you said something earlier that really, I mean, obviously from a spiritual perspective, you couldn't get more dead on, but even from a non-spiritual perspective, just at face value, we really do have a situation right now in society where we feel things that we don't want to feel, and we think that we got to get rid of them. And it's like, no, I'm trying to teach my kids that now.
Right.
Something will happen, and like my son will get upset. And then he'll start like lashing out or something. And I'm like, hey, buddy, like you were upset. You're sad right now. And that's okay. Like that's an appropriate response to what just happened. You're supposed to feel sad. Allow it to feel sad. Don't push it away and don't hold on to it. Just allow it to be there and it will go away. Like let it die. Its natural death is essentially from a spiritual perspective. But like it's temporary. The good things and the bad thing, it's all temporary. No matter how good something is, there's an inherent sadness to it because it's going to come to an end no matter what it is. Right. But the same thing goes for things that you don't care for, unsatisfactory things. Those also come to an end. They don't last forever. But it's like we do, man. I watching TV, not scripted stuff, but like reality shows or whatever, which I guess are somewhat scripted, but just interviews and even YouTube and TikTok and stuff. There's this trend right now, and we're getting away from this idea of what's the word I'm looking for? Not
real professionals. Real.
Yeah. Well, I mean the grin and bear it stuff, right? Like I was raised in a time where you got comfortable being uncomfortable. But like it started with Trevor, right? My son, I remember asking him, he was, I don't know, 18, 19, and asked him what his goals were, like what he wanted to do. And one of the things he said was, I want to be comfortable. And it's like, but you don't grow from being comfortable. Like if you find comfort at 18, you're never going to be anything other than what you are because you're so comfortable. Why change? It's typically when you're uncomfortable is when you start to seek out solutions for being uncomfortable. And then you grow, you evolve, you learn things, you add stuff. So, but that's the problem is we so desperately want to be comfortable. So anytime something icky comes into our life, we don't want it. Instead of enduring it, instead of adapting to it, instead of embracing it, we try our best to get rid of it and push it away. And then we wonder why we have all these issues with what we have issues with. Like you said, you keep taking the same drug or the same alcohol, whatever it is, and then I can't do this, and it leads all these other areas. Well, yeah, because you're trying to do something that's impossible. You're trying to get rid of bad feelings. Right. It's never going to happen. It's not possible.
Right. And the key thing there is what you're doing to avoid those bad feelings. Is it really working for you? Or is it just allowing some time to pass that you don't have to be concerned about it? But then as soon as the influence of the substance goes away, boom, there it all is again. And then probably bigger and greater because of what you just did.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be legal issues now, or maybe, you know, someone close to you just has an issue with it because you're not present. And it's hard to be completely present, you know, when you're on those things. You know, it's hard to be completely present when you're numbed out. And, you know, when I treat people that are between 35, 45, and especially when you get to the 50s and they've had children, the regret comes into the counseling conversation. That I regret that I missed those years with my kid. I was high all those years. They don't even know it. You know, they just knew not to bother dad while he was sleeping, or not to mess with him when he was resting. You know, like they all have this little thing that tends to bother them. And so, since some of you are younger, just understand that if you find yourself saying, I have anxiety or I have depression, you know, I have difficulty sleeping, all these things that are uncomfortable, please seek professional advice rather than diagnosing yourself or listening to your friends or listening to another person. They're not the professional, and neither are you. And even if you are, you should never diagnose yourself. You should seek a real professional and to see if it indeed is the issue. But if you're just looking for a quick fix, immediate gratification, then the rest of your life, you're going to be seeking that immediate gratification. And let me tell you something, you will never be satisfied. It comes with the deal. Trinity, you got some final words, because we got to get up on out of here, man. It's you know, about that time.
No, it's not worth it, right? Like, I know in the moment it seems like it's worth it, you know, but very few things really are. You know, if you think about it, most of the regrets people have in their lives were like instantaneous, impulsive decisions.
Right.
Granted, yeah, there's a couple, you know, there's a few of them out there that do work out, but the majority of the ones people regret are the impulsive ones.
Right.
So I would say it's just not worth it, man. The immediate gratification isn't worth the sustainable, long-term one that creates happiness and inner peace.
Right on, right on. And again, you just preface, just because we do what we do for a living, we don't say that anyone that uses substances has a problem. You haven't been formally diagnosed by either one of us. Now, if I've told you personally that you do, then you do, actually. No, not really. I'm kidding. But, you know, we're not anti-substances. What we are is anti the disease that can come with some of these substances. And because you don't know whether you have the disease or whether you're prone to the disease or not, then sometimes you put yourself in a situation and you're risking a life of misery that's just fully avoidable. That part of it, because we're all going to suffer pain, but some of the pain that you're adding onto your life was completely avoidable. It did not have to go that way. And life choices sometimes put us down a path where the stuff that we could have avoided now is directly in front of us, and now we have to deal with and process through and recover from. So anyway, from all of us here at 1680 WOKB and 100.7 on your FM dial here in Central Florida, and all of us here on the couch live at Dope and Dharma, Trini, adios amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.